What's up, everybody, and welcome to Hate2Pylon, the return of the Big Ten, Week 7 in the books for the NFL, and whew, what a week of college football, what a week of NFL football, so much to get into. But just a little housekeeping just to start off with. Make sure you're following this Twitch page, twitch.tv/Hate2Pylon. Go ahead and follow. You're already here. Just go ahead and follow us and see when we get more content for you. Go ahead and follow. Go ahead and help pay the bills on this side. And also, while you're in the following mood, it's free, completely free. Go over to youtube.com/CJT Creation Box and go ahead and follow over there and get some more cool content. And hey, you're on a following spree. Why not go over to Instagram and follow the Instagram page, CJT Creation Box, as well, and give a follow and see all the little cool stuff we do over there. And then, one more stop before you stop following. Go ahead and go over to Twitter. You got 2 Twitter pages to follow. The first Twitter page I want you to follow is John_E_football on Twitter. Go check out Saturdays. Go check out hot takes by Jonathan, all the crazy and sometimes good takes he has. And then go over to my page,
sometimes
Clobbering Clown, and go ahead and follow us. Follow me. And I post a couple things here and they're not too active. Maybe if I get a little angry at my Washington football team, which I'm not this week. But go ahead and give us a follow.
No, Kyle Allen, the GOAT, came through for you.
I don't know about that, but the run game
Baby
came through for us. We'll go over that a little bit later on.
He's part of the running game.
But
give that boy his credit.
Just give you a little teaser. A couple new segments that we got for you guys this week, so be on the lookout for that. A little up in production value. So just enjoy the ride for today. It's going to be pretty fun. We all know the importance of knowledge and vocabulary use. So here at Hate2Pylon, we are going to have a SAT word of the day. And when that word pops up, you will see. But we all trying to get a little smarter. You guys get a little smarter. Let's help each other out. But without any further ado, Jonathan, why don't you kick it off with our college football news?
Big Ten football is back, baby. And with the return of Big Ten football, a Heisman contender, low competition for Trevor Lawrence by the name of Justin Fields. I know you've heard of him, CJ, as a alleged Georgia fan.
I've heard of him and I've seen him go, and I hate to see it.
Hey, remember when Georgia had Jacob Eason, Jake Fromm, and Justin Fields, and they chose Jake Fromm out of the 3 of those guys? The worst of the 3. Pretty funny stuff. Pretty funny stuff. For me, at least.
Not for me, but Justin Fields was electric for Ohio State this past weekend, just routing Nebraska, just straight routing them boys. It was a good warm-up game. I'm excited to see what they do next week. Tight schedule they have, 8 weeks to play 8 games, no mishaps. Especially if you have the COVID that enter the building. So,
I already saw, I think Nebraska, Wisconsin might get canceled this week.
Yeah.
Was it Wisconsin?
Actually, starting 3 quarterbacks.
First 3 quarterbacks. They only have 1 active or healthy quarterback. And I'm not even sure if he's a quarterback. His last name is Vandenboom, which sounds more like a linebacker to me.
Yeah, it's a linebacker name.
I wouldn't want to get hit by Vandenboom. I would want to play against a Vandenboom at quarterback. He sounds like he would stink.
Maybe he could be like I don't know.
Sounds like a great value Tim Tebow.
Or like a Notre Dame quarterback.
Yeah, no, it sounds like a running back, like a big, heavy guy.
Yeah, that's true. A little thumper.
Yeah, big thumper.
Yeah, speaking of big thump, how about NC State getting smacked by UNC. I'm pretty sure the trash talk has been crazy between state lines, but man, they definitely didn't show up, and they're being called pretenders, not the real thing. UNC might be legit. I mean,
Yeah, UNC's 4-1. Who did they lose to? They lost to Florida State. I forgot about that. They have a very, very ugly loss to Florida State. But they also beat Virginia Tech, who was ranked. They beat NC State, who was ranked. So, I mean, yeah, they could meet Clemson in the ACC championship game potentially. I think the ACC is going to come down to Clemson, Notre Dame, and UNC maybe. Am I forgetting anybody in there?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think it's just those guys. Yeah, potentially NC State until this past weekend, but they're out. So Notre Dame, Clemson, which they play in 2 weeks, so that should be a really good game. But we're not talking about 2 weeks from now. We're talking about this past week, where Clemson struggled with Syracuse. You can't tell by the final score, which ended up being 47-21, but I believe it was only 27-26 going into the fourth quarter. Or until late in the third quarter. So Clemson struggled there. Trevor Lawrence didn't have his best game. He threw a pick. He missed a good bit of throws. Receivers dropped some passes. Frank Ladson in particular. Travis Etienne did have 3 rushing touchdowns, but he only had 86 rushing yards. So, yeah, Syracuse defense looked pretty good against Clemson. Yeah, they had the scoring explosion in the late third quarter and fourth quarter with, was it a pick six or a scoop and score? A scoop and score. Yeah, 27-21. Then with a minute and 26 seconds left in the third quarter, Clemson's Andrew Booth Jr., who's had a couple big plays so far this season, had a 21-yard scoop and score to give Clemson a 21-34 lead. Then I believe they threw a pick, gave Clemson a short field, and they scored a Travis Etienne 9-yard touchdown run with 13 minutes and 38 seconds left. And then Clemson scored again with 10 minutes and 45 seconds left in the fourth quarter. So they got 3 scores in like 7 minutes, which was like half the scoring total for the game in those 7 minutes. But outside of that, they were struggling for the first 3 quarters of the game, basically. So, is Clemson the undisputed ACC champion? I don't know. We've seen North Carolina, the way they put the smackdown on NC State. Clemson plays the way they did on Saturday against North Carolina or Notre Dame in 2 weeks. They might get upset.
Coach Mack got them boys going in North Carolina. I mean, the thing is, too, one thing you have to take into fact, one thing you have to factor in, Syracuse has Clemson's number every single year. And they've squeaked out a couple dubs, some upset victories. Even, it didn't upset Clemson too much. I think was it both years that Clemson won the national title they lost to Syracuse? I know at least 2017, right? Or 2016.
No, I think it was 2017. And 2016, I believe, was Pitt.
Okay.
I might have those flipped. I know it was Syracuse twice and Pitt once.
But I think, for Clemson, it's almost kind of like they position that game on the schedule kind of to give themselves a little reality check. A little, all right, let's really tighten this thing up because they run high for a few couple weeks and just kind of be just dumping these guys, and you kind of get a tough test that's like a scrappy trap game. It's a perfectly timed trap game, whether they survive the trap or not. It definitely, you see a different Clemson team on the other side of it. So we'll see how they play next week. Who do Clemson play? Who does Clemson play next week?
Boston College.
Boston College. So that should be interesting.
Boston College isn't bad. They're 4-2. So yeah, it could be a good game.
Speaking of good game and good teams this year, maybe a contender for the playoffs. Who knows? Probably not. But I love the story. I love the media publicity of the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, and them boys down there in Conway. We talked about my ties to Jamie Chadwell, who was my head coach back when I played at Charleston Southern for a year, and what he got them boys doing. They're 5-0 right now. They're top 25. I think they will definitely. I think they could jump into the top 20, especially with the. I think who lost this week? Virginia Tech losing to Wake Forest. You have
Cincinnati lost to SMU.
Yeah. Indiana beating Penn State at number 8. So they could make a pretty sizable jump into the top 20, which is huge.
Did they beat Penn State, though? Are we going to talk about that call?
I didn't watch the game. Tell me about what happened.
All right. So it was in overtime. The quarterback dove for the pylon. The ball touches down out of bounds, then hits the pylon.
I saw that. Okay, I saw that.
He didn't get there, but they gave it to him, and that's how they won the game. So if I was Penn State, I'd be livid. But, I mean, you got to live with the call.
Yeah, you got to hate the pylon.
I mean, they hate that he got to the pylon because he didn't actually, but
it was I saw he kind of like dragged, like it's like his arm was like dragged, and it just like I don't know, it's weird. That's a really weird call, tough call to make. I mean, yes, the pylon was hit, but then I don't know, his arm was kind of out of bounds.
The ball had touched out of bounds before it hit the pylon. It was like the pylon was here. Our pylon is here. Out of bounds is here. The pylon, like, our ball hit and then hit the pylon. So it was like a boom, boom, like, kind of like a pinball type thing. But
yeah,
it definitely looked out to me.
Is that his foot?
The ball. Because he dove.
It's definitely a close call, and you hate games to kind of. I mean, that's literally the literal. How all football coaches use the same analogy. It's a game of inches, literally, and it showed it right there. Definitely tough loss with Penn State. Who knows how much that's going to affect them? I mean, I think that's going to affect them huge, especially with the craziness of this season for the postseason for the playoffs. Hopefully, if for their sake, Indiana goes on a run.
It doesn't matter. There's no team coming out of the Big Ten other than Ohio State.
That is true.
We seem to have this debate every year when Ohio State loses one game. But when another team loses one game, it's, they're as good or better than Ohio State. No, Ohio State is still the class of the Big Ten, and they're going to remain so until somebody beats them in the Big Ten championship, which I can't see happening this year. Michigan looked good, though.
They did look good.
They look good, but I don't see them beating Ohio State. Yeah, Minnesota, overhyped.
Hey, we're just trying to roll the boat, baby. We just trying to keep rolling the boat. We're going to focus on what we can focus on. Control the controllables. We're just going to keep rolling the boat.
You talking about NC State. I mean, Minnesota is the one who looked like pretenders this week.
Ooh. Um, but it was definitely a very exciting week of college football. Definitely looking forward to next week. Georgia plays Kentucky. Should be an
that's an L
interesting
for you.
matchup. Um, especially after the heartbreaking loss against Alabama.
Ohio State, Penn State is next week.
Oh, that should be good.
So
Michigan State. Pretty sure Michigan is going to just
Michigan State is
take
garbage.
care of business. Coastal plays Georgia State next week, so hopefully it can keep the everything running high with down there in Coastal. Wisconsin, Nebraska, we said earlier, might not happen. Texas, Oklahoma State could be an interesting matchup. Texas is not good, but I don't know. They're not good.
No. I don't know if Oklahoma State is either, though. I mean, they're undefeated, but
We'll see. It should be a good test for them if they can run in Texas, because Texas was going to give them a run for their money, at least for the first couple quarters.
Let's see. They've played Tulsa, who they beat 7-16. West Virginia, they won 13-27. They beat Kansas 47-7. The Baylor game was postponed. They did just beat a ranked Iowa State team 21-24. But they got Texas this week, Oklahoma State next week, and Oklahoma the week after that. So they got a tough little 3-game, well, I guess 4-game if you count Iowa State this past week. A tough little 4-game stretch there. We'll see if they can remain unbeaten through those in the next 3 games.
Yeah, that should be huge.
Yeah, because the Big 12 is going to have an undefeated conference champion to get somebody into the playoff.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
Because right now it's looking like SEC champion, Big 10 champion, ACC champion, and I guess Big 12 champion. But they better go undefeated because if Georgia already lost the game, didn't they?
Yeah, they lost to Bama.
Yeah. What else do they play? Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's a way for the SEC to get 2 teams in again, but
I mean, I think with the SEC, there's always a way.
I mean, that's true. But somebody would have to beat Bama in the SEC championship game for that to happen, in my opinion. Because then they'd have 2 one-loss teams.
Right.
Everybody else in the SEC already has 1 loss. Then if they play Alabama in the SEC championship and lose again, now they're a 2-loss team. And it's very hard to get into the college football playoff as a 2-loss team.
Yeah, I mean, this whole postseason playoff is going to be really weird, especially because, like, what if a Pac-12 team runs the table, goes 7-0? I think they play in 7 games, maybe 7, 8 games by the time with the championship. Is that a strong enough schedule that weighs the same as a SEC team that's maybe a 1-loss team?
They would have to be blowing out opponents. If they're winning by like 3 to 6 points a night or a week, I couldn't see it happening. But if we'll say Oregon or USC or some Washington, somebody like that goes on a run and they're just housing teams by like 20, 30 points a week, then maybe they can get in. But I don't think they're going to have enough games played before the college football playoff is determined to really stand a chance there. Because they don't start playing until November
7th.
So, yeah.
So next weekend. So one more week.
Yeah, 1 more week after this coming week.
So it should be exciting. Then I think we officially be all back, I believe. I think Matt West also comes back too.
Yeah, the whole Big 12 will be back. I think. Does Mountain West come back this week or next week? Are they already back? Oh, they're already back. Boise State played this week.
Oh, are they? Oh, didn't even notice.
And they're ranked. Who did they play? Utah State. So Boise State is now ranked 25th this week, playing Air Force.
Oh, I actually didn't even see the rankings. Coastal did jump into the top 20. They are number 20 this week.
Oh, yeah, they are right at 20. Look at that.
So, right in my prediction. Then look, promise you I didn't look to just now. Georgia drops down to
5. Isn't that what they were before?
No, they were 3.
Oh, well, they shouldn't have been.
We'll see what happens this week if JT Daniels is starting. Fingers crossed. Speaking of fingers crossed, unfortunate situation. We're moving now into the NFL now. Unfortunate situation for Odell Beckham Jr. Tearing his ACL on the first play of the drive, where Baker Mayfield, for the second week in a row, threw an interception as his first pass and then towards ACL. His future is definitely up in the air. There's talks about him being traded. I think with the CBA, it's a guaranteed injury contract, so he cannot be released. The only way they can get rid of him is by trading him once he's healthy next year. So we'll see what happens if the Browns want to keep him or get rid of him. That offense was definitely humming after he got injured, but you hate to see anybody get hurt, especially someone of his caliber. I think he was just starting to heat up, but speedy recovery to Odell Beckham Jr.
Absolutely. It sucks to see him go. Baker had probably his best game of the year. He still stinks, though. But you know who doesn't stink? The Pittsburgh Steelers, who remain undefeated after defeating the Tennessee Titans.
The only undefeated team left in the NFL.
Yeah. This was a fairly close game. I think, where'd it go? I just had it.
Game down to
27-24. Yeah. And the story of this game was Chase Claypool doing a whole lot of nothing for fantasy owners like CJ.
Yeah. Whole lot of nothing. Pissed.
Speaking of fantasy impact from this game, Deontay Johnson. Every time I start him, he sucks or gets hurt. Every time I bench him, he goes off. Like this week.
We need consistency, guy.
Yeah, 9 catches for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's 29 fantasy points on my bench.
You hate to see it, just like I hate to see James Robinson on my bench and producing good numbers this week. The first time I benched him since I picked him up.
Yeah, James Robinson had a very good week.
I did pick touchdowns. Up Swifty, decent points, decent 14 for me this week, but not what James Robinson gave me. Especially now that I'm down holy crap, Cook.
Dalvin.
Dalvin Cook. Jesus Christ. But yeah, losing Dalvin Cook past couple weeks has definitely been a hit to my fantasy team because that's a guaranteed 20 points. Especially now that Kareem Hunt is not really hasn't been that splash guy he's been in the last couple of weeks. He's giving me solid production, but not where I want from my running back position. But I have a very, very, very big game this week against the number 1 ranked team. I've climbed up the rankings to number 2. It's me versus my brother Andre. This is a rematch from week 1 where he beat me by the smallest of margin. This is the rematch of last year's championship game in the regular season, and I am focused and ready to go. The thing that sucks for me is that Kyler Murray's on bye. So I'm going to have to put all my eggs in the basket of Tua Tagovailoa.
Ooh, first start?
I don't know.
First start? That's a tough one.
I'm still debating on my options to pick up. Do I go the Jimmy Garoppolo again after the last time I picked him up?
No, you sure don't.
He's been playing pretty well, but it's a very risky play. I have to make a lot of decisions this week. So, speaking of a lot of decisions this week, the bad decisions that Russell Wilson threw interception, which those interceptions
He threw three
interceptions, very interesting plays. But the biggest play that everyone's talking about, we'd be remiss if we did not talk about it, was DK Metcalf, or as I like to call him, DK walk down Buda Baker. And I mean, straight Megatron.
Buda Baker's not slow.
He's not. He ran the 4.4. He's 4.4 speed. But when DK Metcalf with that 4.3, and every bit, he might even, high 4.2s with the way he was chasing that damn thing down. Hit 22 miles per hour on the radar.
Yeah, his strides are like twice as long as Buda Baker, so it's not, from that perspective, it's not too hard to believe he ran him down. But to see the distance Buda Baker had on everybody before DK comes out of nowhere to run it down and save that touchdown.
Effort. Straight effort. See, look, I'm going to go on a small rant real quick. If my girl is not giving me the effort that DK Metcalf gave on that play, I don't want her. If my coach is not putting that much effort into coaching me up each week, I don't want him as a coach. DK Metcalf is showing you what the standard is, and he's setting it high to where you got to attain it and you got to be there. I want DK Metcalf energy all the time.
Well, see, the reason he had so much energy there was because he did almost nothing offensively this game. Because it was the Tyler Lockett show. Lockett went off.
But to that point, also, DK Metcalf could have had the game-winning touchdown, if not for a holding call that brought that touchdown back in overtime.
Yeah, he wouldn't have scored without the hold.
Maybe he could have just went beast mode.
Are we talking about Tyler Lockett for a second?
Okay, yeah, give Tyler Lockett his roses.
20 targets.
Damn.
15 catches. 200 yards. 3 tutties.
Ooh, the tutty trifecta.
Yes. DK Metcalf had 2 catches for 23 yards. That's why he had the energy to run down Buda Baker.
He's still a freak. We're not taking anything away from him. But yeah, the crazy game though, in Arizona. Back and forth. Arizona is a team that, we definitely picked early on to really kind of be, we think, a surprise team, so to speak. Because it's a very tough division, first and foremost. Definitely the best division in football this season. It's a 3-team race. San Francisco's teetering. Actually, fuck. With the win of last night with the Los Angeles Rams. Yeah, this is a very interesting division. They could have 3 teams possibly in the playoffs.
Yeah, every team is 4-3 or better. Seattle's 5-1, Arizona's 5-2, the Rams are 5-2, and San Fran's 4-3. So, very, very tough division there.
Yeah, and San Fran is kind of heating back up there. They did lose Deebo Samuel for a couple weeks, and a running back, I forgot his name. But just getting
Jeff Wilson back. Jr.
Yeah. Definitely losing Deebo sucks. He definitely kind of brought a little spark back to that offense. They definitely run the ball a lot more effectively. Defense is doing play. Defense shut down the New England Patriots, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, very tough division in the NFC NFC West. And Kyler Murray two pretty good games back to back. Especially, I mean, of course, playing against the Dallas Cowboys, where as we noted that any quarterback in the NFL can put up numbers against that team, and do well. But bringing it back to the Seattle Seahawks, which the Seattle Seahawks defense has been a liability for them to be any kind of competitor all year. Hopefully,
especially once Jamal Adams got hurt. He just fell off a cliff.
Hopefully, we'll see. Maybe Seattle might be active at the trade deadline. I'm hearing Harrison Smith from the Minnesota Vikings might be available for trade. There's a few other players who might be available. Arizona could be a surprise. I would say surprise team. I think if they can continue to keep their momentum going, I think that the sky's the limit. I think Kyler Murray, he just needs to get more comfortable. And I think oh my goodness, as comfortable as Kyler Murray is as far as the Arizona Cardinals are going to go, because he really can propel that team. And then with Isaiah Simmons, their first round pick, balling, get the interception, a huge interception in overtime.
Game ceiling. Well,
it puts swing game back in the definitely big play for them, and hopefully their defense keeps improving and starts gelling right. I mean, that offense can put up numbers. We were talking about it earlier, just a quick thing, a little tidbit, as you would say, with the terrible Dallas team this past weekend. And of course, we are advocates of the hashtag Free Jacoby.
Yes, we are.
And this trade scenario, because special trade deadline's coming up November 6th. No, excuse me. November 3rd. It's next Tuesday, I want to say. Or it's next Thursday. Well, the trade deadline looming. There's some interesting scenarios.
The 3rd is a Tuesday.
Oh yeah, because that's election day. So go out and vote, guys.
Correct.
The 4th, 5th, probably.
Yeah,
maybe the 5th, November 5th. But one of those days is the trade deadline. Definitely a really interesting trade idea that I saw. I think I saw this. Or did I see this on? I want to say Bleacher Report. But Jacoby Brissett to the Dallas Cowboys, especially with Andy Dalton suffering a concussion this past week at the hands of John Bostic. Very dirty play.
Prescott's future up in the air after his injury.
And Jacoby could be the guy who can move that ball around. With those weapons, the offensive line is a liability. It was definitely not going to be what he's been used to in Indianapolis, but with the plethora,
that's an SAT word right there. That's not even right.
But with a plethora of weapons that the Cowboys have at their disposal, I mean, he could, make a run. I mean, Cowboys just need to win 4 games, really, to be competitive in that division.
To win that division.
Yeah.
It stinks.
They need to make some moves, especially with hearing all of the just really hearing all of the nonsense that's coming out of the locker room. Mike McCarthy, people telling me they're just being taught, or anything like that. It just brings me to my next thing I want to talk about is the SAT word of the day. What is it, Jonathan?
Lassitude.
And the Dallas Cowboys didn't show much lassitude this past week, playing defense, playing offense, just playing football in general, especially when Andy Dalton got smacked by John Bostic, which was a very dirty play, and it's not apparently supposed to be suspended. Probably will face a heavy fine, but no one stuck up for him.
That's your
And
Washington football team,
I don't know about
full
that.
of dirty players.
Uh, uh, um, no. Um,
Yes.
but what do you think? How do you feel about this, Jonathan?
I mean, pretty much that whole offensive line they have is backups. Um, they probably don't even know Andy Dalton that well. Some of these guys are practice squad dudes who are just being brought up to the active roster. You know, I mean, they probably don't really feel that much of an attachment to him. Either it's their first year there, it's Andy Dalton's first year there. Like, there's not a lot of time to connect. Like, it's not like this is your franchise quarterback who they've been protecting for 3 years. It's not like Tyron Smith was out there letting Dak get hit like that. I mean, I just don't think there's – I mean, and that's part of the problem. There's a lassitude there on the part of the Dallas Cowboys. They're not showing that interest in winning or their own teammates. It's like, it's just Andy Dalton. It's not Dak.
Yeah, and what's sad, I think when the Dak injury happened, it feels like they just think the season's over and they just pretty much folded up shop.
It
And
kind of was over before then. That defense stinks.
yeah, but I mean, with Dak Prescott just really giving it all he had and really trying to keep them in games, kind of like a Russell Wilson-esque, just being, on pace for an insane number of yards, throwing averaging like 500 a game, just about. But yeah, I mean, that was probably the biggest knockout of their sales. Like it really kind of just deflated them. Shout out to Tom Brady. It just really. It just really kind of just threw them away. And when I mean throw them away, I mean transition to our next topic, the trash run. And the Cowboys are going straight into the trash because they're officially over and done with. Me being a Washington fan, I was very skeptical of our team playing against them this week, but I didn't realize that the Cowboys stunk that bad. I knew we were bad.
They do.
But I didn't know that they stunk even worse than us, which makes me feel good. But at the same time, the drink is not as sweet when the Cowboys aren't good and we beat them. But a win over the Cowboys is a win. And I love it. I'm super excited.
All right, Stephen A.
That's Stephen A. was saying. I love that man. I love Stephen A. Especially after
Stephen A. too.
He's hilarious. He's hilarious. But a man who wasn't laughing very much this past week. A man who seems to lose all joy in playing football. A man who was right here in the city that I am residing in. That is CLT. We were pro Cam Newton fans during the preseason.
Hey, I still am.
But I'm going to have to do it after the performance this week. PU and we're going to throw him in the trash run this week. Not good performance. Benched after throwing 3 interceptions for Jarrett Stidham. I mean, in his defense, the Patriots stink. Correct. And pretty soon we're going to put the entire Patriots team in the trash run. But with Bill Belichick, we're going to hold the trigger a little bit longer. But Cam Newton, not a good performance this past week. What do you have to say for him?
They're not really defending his performance this week. He was trash this week. But we've seen him not be trash this year. And I can only hope that this week was an aberration. Another SAT word for you.
Knowledge, baby.
Power. Yeah, he just didn't look good. He looked uncomfortable. He looked like he didn't trust himself to make throws or his receivers to make catches. He held on to the ball. It was not a good look. But you got Jarrett Stidham comes in to replace him, throws a pick like first drive, I think. So not looking much better. So he's, in my opinion, he's a product of the environment. The Patriots, they stink. They lost a lot of talent in free agency. They lost even more to opt-outs. They're a shell of what this team was last year. And a lot of people aren't mentioning that when they talk about Cam struggling this week and last week, or before he had COVID. All you got to do is go back and look at the first 2 weeks of the season to see that he's not washed, like he's still got it in him. The Seattle game, I mean, he's throwing dimes. It's just not a good team right now.
It's not.
The receivers stink. Edelman's old. N'Keal Harry is a bust. Certainly not better than Brandon Ayuk from the 49ers, who he was teammates with at Arizona State.
Shout out to Herm Edwards.
Facts. Uncle Herm.
Also, I just feel like Cam Newton is stuck. I would say Cam Newton is the rebound chick, because Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, they had their breakup, and it was very public, and we know what, each person was kind of, hey, I'm better without you. I can win Super Bowls without you, Tom. Oh yeah, Bill? Go ahead and do it then. I'm gonna take my talents down to Tampa Bay. I'm gonna rename it Tampa Bay, and we're gonna set the world on fire. Go ahead and do it. I don't even need, what's fun? I'm going to do you one better. I'm going to win football games without any additional wide receivers, without any more talent on my team. And I'm just going to win it by coaching and doing it the Patriot way, not the Tom way. And Cam Newton comes to a situation where he wants to play ball and gets a great opportunity for the Patriots playing with Bill Belichick, a great football mind, with also Josh McDaniels. But he's kind of getting stuck in kind of like a, dick measuring contest. Who's better off after, this person. And you hate to see it. And there's a lot of rumor and innuendo going that Cam Newton could be bound for the Washington football franchise. With the ties to Ron Rivera. Shout out Ron Rivera, first and foremost. His last round of chemo was on Monday, 10/26, which was also my mother's birthday. Shout out to my mama. Love you. But yeah, awesome to see. Who knows?
Yeah.
Cam Newton in Washington, which, flashback, he got drafted 2010, if I'm not mistaken. 2011. And I think he was projected anywhere from like 1 to 10. And I think we had the 10th overall pick that year in the draft. And I was like, oh, Cam Newton to Washington would be pretty cool. I mean, maybe 10 years later down the road, could it happen? We'll see this offseason.
I doubt it. I feel like if it was going to happen, Ron Rivera would have signed him when he was a free agent. But he chose to trade for Kyle Allen, not Cam Newton, when the Panthers put Cam Newton on the trading block. So
who knows? Who knows? We'll see what happens. Things can change.
Plus, you guys already got Kyle Allen. Like, what? You got your quarterback of the future.
I don't think he's a quarterback of the future. I think he's the quarterback of today.
No, he's the quarterback of the future.
But the quarterback of the future for the Los Angeles Chargers in our first pylon standout this week is Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert has been slinging the damn rock, and this week finally picking up his first professional football win. Huge dub for Justin Herbert. What do you got for
he was one pick away from being a Carolina Panther, and I will never forgive the Chargers for taking that from me. Marty Herney, after the NBA had shut down, right before the whole world shut down, when everybody knew the dangers of COVID, hopped on a flight from Charlotte to Oregon to see Justin Herbert throw at his pro day. That's how interested the Panthers were in Justin Herbert. This man risked COVID. And Marty Herney's not young. Hopped on a flight literally across the country from the southeast to the northwest to go see Justin Herbert And I'm 100% convinced he would have been the Carolina Panthers pick at 7 had the Chargers not taken him at 6. And I'm upset.
Yeah, or if the Dolphins didn't get Tua at 5. I mean, that could have been a trickle down as well. Maybe the Chargers go with Tua if Tua slips to 6, and then Justin's still there at 7.
It's true.
Speaking of true, finally a good running performance. Antonio Gibson with a huge day on the ground with 20 carries, 124 rushing yards, and a touchdown. 28, thank you. Rushing yards. A big day. I'm very excited that he had he's getting momentum. He's getting better. He's such a guy who can really break it. He's still learning the position of running back. He early on he made a lot of wrong reads and run into the wrong holes and stuff like that. But he has a lot of home run ability and talent, and I'm excited for him to really put it together. I'm glad that we are committing to running the ball more, which results into W's. Huge game for the rookie. I love it. You love to see it. Also, big game for Tom Brady, who was showing his big stick around against the who did they play this week? The Las
Vegas Raiders.
Nice performance. Tampa Bay is continuing the run, and now they have Antonio Brown to add to the mix, and who knows if he's going to be able to clear and play and whatever, but just a scary thought. And then as they continue to get healthy for the playoff run, I mean, Tampa Bay could just really be a force to be reckoned with. I mean, that defense, if anything, is what's going to carry them through this run. And if Tom Brady, I mean, he's the ultimate game manager right now. So, I mean, they can do enough to win the division. The Saints are very iffy. Carolina could pose a threat. They're a very scrappy team. You never know what they're going to do each week, though, but they definitely will give them tough fits.
In the words of Teddy Bridgewater, they are a tough-ass football team.
They are. And also a tough-ass football team that we didn't think was very tough to start off with, but Matthew Stafford bringing back the Detroit Lions, bringing them back to win with the final seconds, throwing a touchdown to T.J. Hawkinson.
I mean, they were playing the Falcons, though. You had to know this was coming.
That is true. A comeback was
what the Falcons do. They lose games they should easily win. Games they have won already. They just decide to give away in the last 2 minutes.
Todd Gurley does the most Falcons thing, scores a touchdown accidentally. They could have, milked the clock out, ran it out, and be done with the game and won it, kicked the field goal. But, his momentum carried into the end zone and left a minute and 4 seconds for the GOAT, Matthew Stafford. Detroit Lions I've won 3 straight, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 3-3.
They're back at 500.
They won 2 straight.
2 straight?
Yeah, they beat the Cardinals, lost to the Saints, then beat the Jags, and beat the Falcons.
Right, he did beat the Cardinals. Yeah, which is, teams that you should beat, but if they can start picking up some momentum, I think they got all their wins on the road as well. So that means they're showing some grit. If they can get a dub or 2 at home, that can, put them in contention with Green Bay. They played them tough earlier this year. Chicago are frauds, but
big frauds.
We'll go ahead and we'll get to that a little bit later. So let's go ahead and get into the scores and recaps of the rest of the games that we had from this week. And we'll give you our pick for Thursday night. And then we'll do our picks on Thursday night this week. All right. So we're going to start off with the first game, the Thursday night game from last week, which was a stink fest.
Correct.
For the NFC East. We had the New York Giants taking on the Philadelphia Eagles, which was actually a crazy game. We had Daniel Jones running and stumbling.
Yeah, people talked about DK Metcalf and his rundown. How about Daniel Jones and his fall down on his run?
Yeah.
He apparently reached the top speed of 21 miles per hour at some point on this run, which I refuse to believe. He was only running
sneaky fast.
Like it was like 21.5 miles too. So it was like a mile per hour slower than DK Metcalf, which
that's hard to believe.
I refuse to believe.
His body was, I mean, I think he was running faster than his body could handle.
He was running faster than gravity could handle, that's for sure. But gravity won out in the end.
Yeah, and so did the Philadelphia Eagles.
Correct. Yeah, they pulled out the dub 22-21. Carson Wentz, 25 of 43 for 359 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. I think he also had, 7 carries for 14 yards, but he did have a rushing touchdown that helped his fantasy value. So not a very good actual game for him. He completed like 60% of his passes, 25 of 43, but he had 2 passing touchdowns, including the game winner to Boston Scott, which was an absolute dime over the shoulder to the pylon. What a catch, what a throw, what a game. Heartbreak for the Giants. Unless it isn't, because they might get Trevor Lawrence, possibly. He's looking destined for one of the New York teams, potentially. The Jets winless, the Giants 1 win. But we didn't mention this earlier on college football news. Trevor Lawrence said he could potentially come back after this season, perhaps implying he does not want to play for the Jets, which who could blame him?
I mean, and he could do this a couple times too. I think he will still be a junior next year.
Yeah, he's a true junior this year, but this year, because of COVID, doesn't count towards your eligibility. So he could play this year and not lose eligibility. Come back next year, still have that be his junior year of eligibility. Then come back the year after that and be a senior. So he could, I mean, if the Jets get the first pick 2 years in a row, he can dodge him 2 years in a row. But if they really tank out and go 3 straight first overalls,
it's destined to be.
He's out of luck at that point.
It's destined to be. Speaking of destiny, man, Joe Burrow, he is so good.
He ain't better than Herbert, though.
He's not better than Herbert, but definitely 2 of the top quarterbacks that are going to be carrying the torch for the next couple of years.
And we'll see if Tua can join him this week.
That's true. His debut is
making his first start. Yeah,
very exciting. Very exciting. Heartbreaking for Ryan Fitzpatrick, who's been playing his heart out, man.
Yeah, he's been on a tear. I'm actually really surprised they made this move, considering the way Ryan Fitzpatrick has been playing. Like, I figured they would wait until bad Fitzmagic showed up to make this move, but they didn't even wait for that. He's been good, Fitzmagic, and they still are like, no, 2 a time.
But think about this, though. What if they're doing this and trying to ration good? So what if, Tua can at least get them a couple of wins? And I think we've only reached 6 weeks with Fitzpatrick, and he noticeably has like a 8 to 10 weeks run. Maybe try to get those last 4 weeks to get them into the playoffs. Who knows? Maybe they're superior level of coaching and management with Fitzmagic.
Perhaps they're Galaxy branding it. Yeah, that's a possibility. Let's see.
But back to Cleveland, Cincinnati.
Yes.
Joe Burrow putting on a clinic. I mean, definitely has the team. The team could score offense, could score points. The defense is running out of town. literally because Carlos Dunlap put his house up for sale right after the game. Shout out to Carlos Dunlap, who played for Fort Dorchester. Shout out to Brooklyn. We went to high school with her. I want to say relative of Carlos Dunlap as well. Who knows? Maybe he gets out. Maybe he joins. Who could be a good team? Maybe I don't know who would be buyers right now. Who needs defensive line help? I would say
the Seahawks actually need some pass rushers.
Yeah, that'd be a pretty good pick.
And they're contenders, so I'm sure we would like to go there and get a chance to compete finally.
But yeah, Cleveland. Who would have thought that Baker Mayfield would throw 5 touchdown passes after Odell Beckham Jr. Get hurt early on in the game? Baker showed something. I don't want to jump the gun and saying, the Cleveland Browns are for real. They're not, because they still have to play the Steelers and the Ravens again. So we'll see what happens. We'll see how they continue to progress. They are 5-2 currently right now. So pretty good record. But we also know another team that's 5-2 that's not, it's not indicative of actually how good their team is, but we'll talk about that later. Going down to Green Bay versus Houston Texans. I mean, this game was pretty much everything I thought it was going to be. The bounce back game for Aaron Rodgers, and it was 40 fantasy points for me. Beautiful performance. Early and often for Devontae Adams.
Yes, Devontae Adams.
Early and often.
13 catches, 196 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
And he had 8 of those for like 114, I want to say, in the first half. Like
that sounds about
stupid. Right. Houston is not a good team this year. But listen, speaking for our client, Deshaun Watson, listen, it's tough days right now, but we did what we had to do early on this season. We got rid of Bill O'Brien. Now we just got to rot the season out. Let's play it safe. Hey, path and numbers. We got the check. We got the big bag this season. Now we're going to align you with our guy, Eric B, after this season. Just be patient. Better times are coming.
Yeah, we can only hope. They sure can't get much worse.
Cannot. Speaking of getting much worse, how about the Carolina Panthers this week?
All right. I don't know how I feel about that transition, but
tough loss.
I don't know if you're
building.
It was a tough loss, but I mean, they played them well. They were in it, had a chance to win. Attempted what would have been, I believe, a 65-yard field goal by Joey Sly, who just missed it by a couple of feet. And then Cam Jordan decided to brag to reporters, yeah, we knew he was going to miss that kick. Yeah, I'm sure you did. It was a 65-yarder.
Right. If he would have made that kick, no, that's bigger news.
The same Cam Jordan who had, I believe, 1 solo tackle and 1 assist for the whole game. So maybe worry about playing well yourself before you come for the kicker. Seems like he contributed more to the game than you did, Cam Jordan.
Ooh.
Ever since we got rid of Speed Bump McGee, as he called Matt Khalil, which I agree with. Matt Khalil was garbage, but he's didn't do so hot against an off the tackle who was actually an off the tackle. Imagine that.
I think my analysis for
it just must go around the Saints. They tough on Twitter. The Twitter fingers strong with the Saints. And Michael Thomas took those Twitter fingers, curled them into a fist, and then put that fist in the direction of a teammate's face. Maybe for telling him to stop with the Twitter fingers. Who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows? All I know is this dude stinks. He might never play again. And the Saints are trying to trade him. And he's killing my fantasy team.
Slaughtering. But I think the Carolina Panthers, you had talked about this earlier this preseason and earlier this season that you definitely wanted the tank to kind of be a bad team and to be better for the future. But the way you guys are playing and gelling, I mean, you guys could be only a year and a half out, or maybe a year away from really kind of putting things together. If you have if your coaching, your competent coaching continues, you guys are playing tough. Possibly, I'm hearing that Christian McCaffrey could be back Thursday night, which would be huge for you guys.
Yeah, he practiced today, Tuesday. He's been designated to return, so they have 21 days from today. So if he's not playing on Thursday, he'll definitely be back next Sunday, week 9, I believe. But yeah, I hope he's back. I hope he plays well. I hope we get the dub. It's always nice to beat the Falcons, division rival.
And it's always nice to beat the Jets, as the Buffalo Bills kind of struggled a little bit against the Jets this week.
I thought
Jets was
playing the long con here and trying to give the Jets a win in order to decrease their chances at getting Trevor Lawrence, which would have been a very heads-up play, but then they turned around and won for some reason. And I'm like, what's wrong with you guys?
That's next level thinking, only here on Hate2Pylon.
That's what I do.
But yeah, the Buffalo Bills go to 5-2, getting a well-needed victory after dropping 2 straight to 2 tough opponents. So it's nice to have a nice, easy one and see if they can pick up their pride and Josh Norman on the way on to next week. Speaking of dropping Josh Norman, the Washington football team took on the Dallas Cowboys, and man, oh man, what a slaughter this game was.
That's what I was doing there in that game, yawning, because it was a snooze fest.
It was.
The Cowboys stink.
They stink, and I don't know. I'm still skeptical of my team. I think this is a good confidence booster going into the bye, and then plus coming back playing against the Giants, so we can have a chance to win 2 straight, especially that close game. If our offense can keep gelling, if just keep feeding Terry McLaurin, Logan Thomas is finally starting to kind of get comfortable playing tight end. Who knows?
And he
That's all I'm
actually
gonna
has
say.
a QB now.
Who knows? So the defense looked great. We did lose Landon Collins for the season with an Achilles injury. So we'll see what they do to replace him. I know Cameron Curl, who's been balling out this season, is going to have to step up and possibly be starting. There's a lot of talk. People love Cameron Curl, especially a lot of plays he was making in the nickel corner. But we'll see if starting will be enough. Troy Apke and Everett is going to have to step up as well. Maybe they pick someone up this week,
like Eric Reed.
Maybe Eric Reed. We offered Eric Reed to sign on the practice squad, and he declined. That was breaking news today. We'll see what happens. But there's some other options out there. Maybe we make a trade. Definitely, hopefully, we can make a trade at the deadline to see if we can get somebody. But yeah, 25-3 victory there. Not too much to talk about. The next game, not too much really to talk about either. Kansas City just smacking the Denver Broncos. I mean, it's just Kansas City, what Kansas City does. I mean, they do Kansas City things. I mean, they are a team that is winning in different ways, which is a scary thing. If this team is finding identity running the football and they just don't have to rely so much on Patrick Mahomes, but then when, you need Patrick Mahomes later on down the season for bigger games, he's fresher and he can still do it. So that's very scary. Adding Le'Veon Bell to the mix can be a very scary thing. He could be seen trying to hold off some packages for him closer on to the playoff season. So that should be really good. But yeah. San Francisco and New England, we kind of talked about this earlier when we put Cam Newton into the trash bin into the trash run. Not a good performance. San Francisco, 2 very impressive victories back to back after a team that we thought would kind of just easily make a slide, but Kyle Shanahan is too good of a head coach to really kind of let his team be total garbage. But getting a victory in New England, 33-6, huge for that team.
Yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo completed 20 of 25 passes for 277 yards, but he did throw 2 picks. Jeff Wilson Jr. had 17 carries for 112 yards and 3 touchdowns, but I believe he's a high ankle sprain.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be out for at least a couple of weeks.
I'm not sure what the injury was exactly, but he's going to be out for a while, as is Deebo Samuel.
Well, I think it's a hamstring for Deebo.
Yeah, I think he's a hamstring injury. So the running backs are going to be undrafted rookie JaMychal Hasty and Jerick McKinnon, who's torn his ACL 2 years in a row, maybe 3. So not a whole lot of depth there. I would expect them to make some moves. Deebo is a guy who could have filled in, and they give him a lot of carries in the running game. But with him being out, I would expect them to probably sign somebody or maybe use Brandon Ayuk in the running game a little more. The rookie out of Arizona State, who's better than N'Keal Harry, who he played against this week. So, yeah, former teammates there. The better one got the win. The bad one plays on a bad team with bad teammates and Cam Newton. But you know who's not bad? Justin Herbert.
He's not.
27 of 43 passing for 347 yards and 3 touchdowns. He also led the team in rushing this week with 9 carries for 66 yards and a touchdown. He had a huge game, balled out, played very well, got the win over a feisty Jacksonville Jaguars squad. James Robinson had 22 carries for 119 yards and a touchdown, and also had, I believe, 4 receptions for 18 yards and another touchdown. Gardner Minshew struggled this week, only completing 14 of 27 passing attempts, so just above 50%. For 173 yards, he did have 2 touchdowns, but he was sacked 5 times. And there was rumors going around before this game that he might be sacked or benched.
For Mike Glennon.
For Mike Glennon. It didn't happen this week, but they have a bye upcoming. I wouldn't be shocked to see him maybe not start coming out of the bye.
Jay Gruden sabotaging a quarterback? Where have we heard that storyline before?
Was it Jay Gruden or was it just a bad quarterback? Because, I mean, Kyle Allen came in and took his job. So we'll see. Maybe Mike.
I mean, I don't know how much better Mike Glennon can be, though.
Yeah, Mike Glennon has never really put it together anywhere he's ever been. So I definitely think Gardner Minshew has the higher upside, but maybe they feel that he has a safer floor than Minshew. He's just going to make less mistakes, which, I mean, that's going to be something they have to find out.
I mean, they still put up 29 points this week, but I mean, at the same time, look, you're 1-6. You're not going to win the division. No. I mean, that division is pretty much all Tennessee Titans. Maybe the Colts might make a run, but their team is so wishy-washy. You never know what Philip Rivers' arm is going to wake up this week, and this is going to actually work properly or not. They just need to they just give Gardner Minshew the ball and just keep I just don't see for me. If you're going to be a bad football team, there's no need to make changes at quarterback. The only time I can see you making a change of quarterback is for a guy who's younger. Mike Glennon is not younger than Gardner Minshew. You give Gardner Minshew the ball, give him as much tape as possible, see if he can change or grow as a quarterback. And if not, you have plenty of tape on film at the end of the year to go, okay, he's not our guy. Let's move on and let's draft Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields early in this draft. Trey Lance. Who knows? But I just think it just doesn't make sense. You may as well. I mean, you're a terrible team. You're already 1-6. I mean, if you go on a run right now, I mean, which is very unlikely, the team doesn't have enough talent to go on a 9-game winning streak to win out. But I mean, you may as well just go with Gardner Minshew and just play your cards right. And then pretty sure that the team is going to get blown up by the end of the season anyway with Doug Marrone. So that's the only way I can see that happen if Doug Marrone is just trying to keep his job. I mean, Jacksonville Jaguars is not a bad team. They're a bad team. They're not like god awful. They have some talent. They have talent and young talent too, which is like if you can get the right coach and kind of really, is Gardner Minshew the guy though? Maybe it's just not the scheme that he's running. Who knows? But I mean, he's shown he can perform. You just got to get the consistency out of him, which is the big thing. Because speaking of consistency, Nick Foles does not have any of that. He is the streakiest player in the history of NFL. His highs can be super high, as we saw winning the Super Bowl for the Philadelphia Eagles, which I think that light is slowly phasing out. And the Chicago Bears are the worst 5-2 team in the NFL right now, which sounds crazy.
Yeah, they probably are. Let me see if there's any other 5-2 teams that are bad.
Oh, Cleveland Browns? Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know which quarterback's worse, to be honest. I don't know which one I'd rather have. I mean, maybe
surrounding team. I would rather have the Cleveland Browns surrounding team.
Oh, for sure. Team, I'm going Browns. Quarterback alone?
Yeah, I mean,
that's tough. They both stink.
They're both streaky players. Baker Mayfield is definitely a player who is a confidence guy. So if his confidence gets shot, and I think it can easily get shot, he doesn't play through adversity very well. Nick Foles Nick Foles is very streaky, but very rhythmic. If you can get him into a rhythm with play calling, I think Kevin Stefanski is a better play caller than Matt Nagy. So
Matt Nagy stinks.
Yeah, Matt
Nagy is not good.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens. And the thing is too, with being 5-2 currently, I mean, all he needs to really do is rattle off at least 3 more wins, and he's got his job for next season. So which kind of puts you in mediocrity again for another couple of years, which is one of those terrible, vicious cycles to be a fan of a team who's just mediocre.
Correct, but all they had to do to not be mediocre was not trade up for Mitch Trubisky, which they did. And it was
who knows? Maybe we could see a little fantasy booking here. Maybe we could see Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold was the same year as Mitchell Trubisky, right? No, that was
the year after.
2018. The year after.
Mitch Trubisky was the Deshaun and Mahomes draft.
Right.
So they traded up for Mitchell Trubisky to not take Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes.
I mean, I can understand Patrick Mahomes because not too many people, and he was still kind of like, I don't say an unknown, but he wasn't like the talk of the town. I mean, he wasn't a surefire as Deshaun Watson.
For sure. He wasn't unknown, but he definitely wasn't a sure thing. He was a big question mark, but if everybody knew about his arm and what kind of talent he had, they just didn't know if he'd be able to put it together. And that's kind of the thing that Mitchell Trubisky was supposed to have. He's supposed to be safe, not make mistakes, a steady floor guy, and he's just not that. He's very streaky, turns the ball over a good bit.
I'm going to give you a bright side because I just thought of this amazing thing. The XFL is going to have some amazing quarterback play. with the bust of quarterbacks that are coming out from the 2018 draft, the 2019 draft. Give Mitchell Trubisky the
Mitchell
ball with, let's say,
Trubisky, Dwayne Haskins.
Hate to say it, but Dwayne Haskins, possibly Sam Darnold,
Sam
Josh
Darnold.
Rosen.
Sam Darnold is still going to get a shot somewhere in the NFL.
Tyrod Taylor.
I don't know about Tyrod.
Because think about this. Pep Hamilton goes back to coach DC Defenders. Pep Hamilton is a quarterback coach right now in Los Angeles. Hey, man, come be my starting quarterback. We got a little synergy going. I mean, Chandler Jones, shotgun, 12-gauge shotgun. I mean, he could, get an opportunity to play again. Maybe PJ Walker if he doesn't stay on the NFL team. Who else? Tama. Who was it? Tame?
Jordan Ta'amu.
Yeah, who's the backup in Kansas City. Who knows? I mean, guys who can get another opportunity to play. I mean, 2022 can't come fast enough for the XFL. I'm excited. The XFL was so great. And I think, with it taking its time and taking a year off to come back again, I think is a very smart decision. But yeah, that was just a mini random note. Let's go our pick for our Thursday night game this week, and we'll be back at it again on Thursday to give the rest of our picks for this week. So this week we have the Atlanta Falcons taking on the Carolina Panthers, a divisional game. So this is going to be intense. Two teams who are not great, but Atlanta Falcons, who's just a team whose offense is on paper should be very good. Defense is lacking. They blow a lot of leads. Carolina Panthers are very, as you say, a tough damn football team.
Correct.
And with the added note, if Christian McCaffrey returns, it should be must-see football. I'm seeing how, and I think Atlanta Falcons would be a good team to kind of get your legs back underneath you. I'll start the picks off, and I'm going to go with the Carolina Panthers picking up a victory, 24-21. Teddy Bridgewater going for 2 touchdowns, 225 on the air, and Mike Davis. He's healthy, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's banged up, but he should be healthy enough to play.
I think Mike Davis goes off. Even if Christian McCaffrey plays, I don't think they will just throw Christian McCaffrey straight back into the fire. But I think you'll see a healthy, good run game against the Atlanta Falcons. So I'm going with the Carolina Panthers victory this week on Thursday Night Football. Jonathan, who you got?
I got the Panthers also, but I think it's going to be a higher scoring game than you have. Rasul Douglas is on the COVID IR list for us. We just released Eli Apple. So our tallest corner going into this game currently is, give me 1 second. Well, we have Stanley Thomas Oliver, who was our 7th round pick. But he's our only corner over 5. Oh, I guess Troy Pride's 5'11". But we have no corners over 6 foot to throw at Julio Jones, which might get ugly. Because Julio is back. He's been killing the last 2 weeks, I think. And you give him, with his speed, his hands, his route running, you give him a 4-inch, 5-inch height advantage over a corner as well. And it's probably not going to be a good day for your defense. So I am going to go 31-35 Panthers.
Well, there you have it, guys. Another week in the books. Week 7 is down. This week we have week 8 of NFL football action. We're halfway there. Excited. We're still moving and grooving. College football moving to groove. I think this will be week 9 coming up. If we're starting from whoever played first, SEC, ACC, MAC conferences. I don't know. Those a couple other schools have been playing for a while now.
Yeah, ESPN has it listed as week 9.
So very exciting stuff. You're getting oh my God, I'm stuttering. We're getting into the thick of it. And Thanksgiving's coming up. Some Thanksgiving football sounds really good.
Thanksgiving
I love that.
food.
Ooh, the holiday season is coming.
Holiday season.
So, which means playoff football, intense rivalries are coming up. Hopefully, everything keeps going without a hitch. Well, there's been some hitches definitely in the giddy up, but hopefully we can keep it trotting and keep it moving. But we will be keeping it moving here. We have to go. We will catch you guys on Thursday for our picks for this week, the Pylon Picks episode this Thursday. Definitely be on the lookout for that. And thank you guys for watching. This has been Hate2Pylon. I've been CJ with my host, Jonathan Edwards, and we will catch you on Thursday. Peace out.